Hello there virtual passengers, Captain Keller here, and today I thought I'd do something slightly different in my video. So if you're new to the channel, normally I record flights that I'm doing on Microsoft Flight Simulator in various aircraft, and we sort of do various things like a round the world tour in the Cessna 172. Currently got a tour of the Nile where we're following the Nile from its source all the way up to the estuary. But today I thought I would do something different. There's been a lot of buzz in the flight simming community recently about the Fenix A320, which regular viewers will know is a plane that I often use. Fenix have just released version 2, or at least the first part of the version 2 update, where they've made a number of changes, and one of those is better frame rates and graphical fidelity. So what I thought I'd do today is just a quick comparison video between the bog standard Airbus A320 provided within the sim by Asobo. I've also got the FlyByWire A320 which I use. I've also got version 1 still of the Fenix installed, and obviously I'll upgrade that to version 2, or sorry, what is it, version 2 block 1. Block 2 comes out in September, and also I thought I'd throw in the PMDG 737 as well, just so we could do a comparison of the most popular airliners used in Microsoft Flight Simulator at the moment. So I've set up to try and make things as fair as possible. I've set up a preset weather condition of overcast, and I've loaded up my Gatwick add-on, which is quite graphic intensive. So literally what we'll do is just go through this video and see which ones provide us with the best frame rates. Okay, so here we are at Gatwick. As you can see, we're in the default Asobo A320 Neo that comes with the sim. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that I normally have my frame rate capped at 35 frames, and I do that through the graphics card. It just makes life a little bit easier for the graphics card, keeps the temperatures down, etc, etc. But today I've uncapped it, so if there is the possibility to get a frame rate over 35, then it will show up, and hopefully you can see on the top right there with my frame rate. So I'm just going to do a quick sort of scan round. FSLTL has loaded all of the airplanes in, so we're just going to have a scan round, just see how the frames compare inside, and then we're just going to fire up the plane in from inside the cockpit. So we're looking at sort of 38, 37 frames at the moment. It looks like it's sort of sitting around that, drops down to 35 every now and then. So I'll probably say 35 is going to be the average on that. And then if I go inside and just literally turn the power on, it should fire up the displays. Yep, and then we're just going to see how the frame rate operates on that. So inside the aircraft it probably drops to about 32 frames. So we're going to take 35 frames for the Asobo. I mean, there's no stuttering or anything, it's quite good. There was a little bit of a stutter there, but as I say, this particular version of Gatwick is quite graphic intensive. So we're going to take 35 frames for the Asobo, and then we're going to move on to the Fly-by-Wire next, so I'll speak to you shortly. And here we are in the fly-by-wire. So I'm giving FSLTL 30 seconds to get everything loaded in, and I'm doing that for the same for all the aircraft. And as you can see, I'm outputting at 1440 onto my monitor at the moment. So on the fly-by-wire with exactly the same setup, with FSLTL running, although it doesn't seem to have injected many planes. It will probably continue to inject those now, certainly less than there was a minute ago when we looked at the last aircraft. But as you can see, the frames here again slightly lower, probably, I mean, whilst they're getting up to 35, 36 frames a second, I mean, again, they're sort of more focusing probably around 32 frames per second when we're outside the aircraft, dropping down when we're looking at the terminal, which is to be expected as it's got to draw it all in. But yeah, so we're probably looking at about 32 frames a second at the moment on the fly-by-wire. And if we go inside and put the power on, and then we can have a look and see what it's like inside. Certainly a lot noisier. So looking inside, the frames drop down again, 25 frames. 26 frames, but on average about 30 frames. Yeah, there's the odd drop down, but on average it's probably about 30 frames a second. So we'll put down about 32 frames for the fly-by-wire. And next we're going to move on to the Fenix. Speak to you in a second. Hello there virtual passengers, and here we are back with the Fenix. So this is Fenix version 1, so I have not updated it yet, and again we're at the same gate, and we've got FSLTL on and exactly the same weather, and as you can see the frames are dropping a bit. We're down to about 30 frames on average at the minute with the Fenix, so it's slightly lower than the fly-by-wire, but it's not horrendous, although I mean now it's down below 30 frames pretty much constantly, so I would probably say that the average on here is about, well, it creeps over the top as well, probably about 30 frames a second from the external camera. So we're going to go inside, turn on the external power, and see what that does. Okay, so everything's firing up now. As you can see, the frame rates are dropping. And I mean, it went down to 21 then, which is quite low. The issue with Microsoft Flight Simulator is that it's very much, you can have as many cores as you want on your CPU, but it only runs one core, so it's very much limited by my CPU itself, and my specs for my PC are down below in the description, and the graphics card that I'm running at the moment is a 3070 Ti, so it doesn't seem to have any major issues really, but as you can see, as you can hear, the aircraft is starting to fire up, and we're probably looking at about 23 to 25 frames per second inside. 20 to 25, yeah. So I'm going to put down 30 frames for the Fenix 1 because that's what we were getting outside as an average, although it is lower than that now that everything's fired up. So I'll change that probably to about 25 frames. Yeah, so I'm going to take that down to about 25 frames. Okay, so next we're going to have a look at the PMDG. I'll speak to you soon. So here we are in the PMDG 737-800. Again, exact same gate, exact same airport, and weather, etc. And the frames are looking pretty good. They're sitting at about 35 frames per second from the outside. So quite pleased with that, going up to sort of 38 to 40 frames per second. But it looks like average now that things have loaded in is about 35 frames per second. So that's the external. So let's have a look at how it looks internally. Now, I haven't flown this plane yet, so I've just got to make sure I get everything set up properly. So please tell me there's all the buttons are in different places. External power, where's that? That's the batteries. For some reason I can't get external power on. Let's turn the batteries on. There we go. That was hard work. Right, okay. Now hopefully this is fired up. Now I can get the GPU in, and the reason I'm doing this is that we can get all the screens set up. So ground services, GPU card request. That's connecting, so I should now get external power. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. External power on. That should now fire up all of the screens. Good. We're looking at an FPS rate of about 30. 27, 28 to 30. probably look at about 28, but I'll put 35 down. That was the best that we had on the outside. So last but not least, what we're going to do is go to the version 2, block 1 of the Fenix A320. Speak to you soon. And welcome back, viewers, to the final test. I'm sure it's the one that you've all been waiting for. So this is the Fenix version 2, block 1. The engines are already running because I haven't gone in and done all the cold and dark setup and the calibration of throttles or anything of that nature, because we are literally just looking at frame rates at the moment. But as you can see, we're going outside the airport, exactly the same parking spot again. Everything is exactly the same as it has been in previous tests. And you can see, whilst the frame rate has dipped below 30, it does stay normally about 30 to 35 frames a second. So I'm just going to go around the aircraft once more just to see how it sits on the average, but it looks like it's probably sitting at about 31, yeah, probably about 31 frames per second. If we go inside, everything's already lit up because the power's going on the aircraft, but again, you know, we're dropping down to about 22, 25 frames a second, so there is the odd stutter. I've not optimised this yet at all. It is literally just bog standard. I've installed it and off we go kind of thing. I'm not sure if my camera views are still saved. They are to some extent. Okay, so there we go. Right, so we're looking at about 31 frames per second on that. So while I go in and just reset the calibration on this, what are my overall thoughts? So it's horses for courses, really. With regards to the aircraft itself, the update has certainly given it some more frames. I mean, nearly probably just over a quarter extra frames, so just over 25%, which is great. They're not a patch on the Asobo, which is 35 frames a second, but I mean, to be fair, the Asobo one is free. It's not doing as much as these aircraft are. There's a lot of processing going on in the background. Every button is live. Apparently now the all call button things, yes, hallelujah, it didn't on the old PMDG, sorry, on the old Fenix. So if anything, that tells me I've got the right one installed now. So, you know, am I going to go back to the Asobo? No. Am I going to use the fly-by-wire at the moment? I will use it if I need to. If I'm doing a route where it was a Neo that was flying, then yes, I'll use the fly-by-wire. Otherwise, I'm going to use the Fenix. But, you know, for a first free update on the aircraft, I'm sure that they're going to bring some more optimization into play in the future. But I mean, overall, I love the Fenix, and the fact that I get some extra frames now is a bonus. And as you can see by the frames in the top there, I am limited by the main thread at the moment, CPU. It's using quite a bit of my GPU memory, but my CPU memory, it's only using 12 gig. I've got a 64 gig CPU, or 24 gig of RAM, so sorry, 64 gig of RAM, so it's hardly using any of the RAM at all. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know there was a bit of rambling and things. I've not really done these sorts of videos before, and as you can tell, I'm not a professional. And I'll be looking to resume normal service soon with some normal flights, replicating real world flights that my subscribers have been on, or just taking a flight that I fancy doing. So until next time, I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.